Welcome back, boys and girls, to another story time. So as you notice, I have something special behind me. I have a piece of paper and a picture of a tree. Now, there's something very special about this tree. Does it have apples on it? Nope. Does it have animals in it? Nope. Oh, it has letters? I see. It's got all these letters up in its branches. So we're going to read a story today about animals that live in trees. And each of these letters is the first letter and the first sound that we hear in those animal names. So before we start, I want to ask you, what animals do you know that live in trees? hmm So an animal that I know that lives in a tree is a squirrel. Do you know what a squirrel is? It's a little furry animal. It's got big teeth. It's got a big bushy tail that likes to flick around, and they usually eat nuts and seeds. But that's not all they eat. So, what's the first sound that you hear in the word squirrel? Do you know what letter makes that sound? An S. Can you find the S up here? There it is. So maybe the S in the tree is for squirrel. But do you remember when we were learning about the jungle? There was another animal, a long animal with sharp fangs that hangs in the trees in the jungle. A snake. You're right. They don't stay up there all the time, but sometimes they hang out up there. And so snake also starts with the letter S. So maybe S is for squirrel and maybe it's for snake. Which one do you think it's going to be? Let's find out. So this animal is actually on our front cover of our book. So I'm going to show you the front. So which animal starts with S? A squirrel, you're right. So this is a squirrel. And what do you notice about the squirrel's cheeks? Oh, they're all full of fangs. So some squirrels hibernate in the winter, and those are the ground squirrels. They go down into the ground and they get surrounded by the soil. And they stay warm all winter long, and then they come back out when it is warm. But tree squirrels do not hibernate in the winter. They stay awake and active all through the cold months. But unfortunately, the trees where they get their food and the plants where they get their food are not growing in the winter. So what they do is they collect or get together a bunch of different seeds and nuts. They store them in their cheeks and they run back to their homes and they spit them out, which is a little bit gross. Please don't spit. So they spit them out and then they cover them up and they hide them and keep them safe. Kind of like our refrigerators. Do you have food in your refrigerator to eat later? Yeah. Well, squirrels have stores of nuts and seeds where they collect food and keep it for later, but they usually wait until winter when it's too hard to find other food. So let's go ahead with our story. This is the front cover, spine, and back cover. On the front cover, you find these big words, the title. How many words are in our title? Remember, a word starts at a space and ends at a space. That means there are no letters right there. They're not close. So we've got, let's see, one word, two words, three words, four words. Oh, notice that word is just a letter. That's interesting. So we had four words and five words. One, two, three, four, five. And what's at the end? A question mark, a punctuation mark. Good job, guys. It says, who lives in a tree? And this story was written by Susan Canizares. And there's not an illustrator because these are not drawings, they're photographs. So instead, it has an author and a photographer, and the photographer's name is Daniel Morton. So let's go ahead and open up that front cover and see what animals we can learn that start with all these letters. So this is the title page. I'm going to keep going. Here is the beginning of my story. Do you know that letter? W. Whoa. Hey, we've got a W up here. Is this first animal the animal whose name starts with a W? What do you think? No. Do you see an animal here? What is that? Tree. Trees are not animals, trees are plants. It says, who lives in a tree? Who did you say lives in a tree? Let's see if they're in the book. Raccoons live in trees. Oh, look at those raccoons. We read a story about a raccoon the other day. Do you remember that story? Raccoon was all alone. You're right. So which letter up here starts raccoon? R. There it is. Raccoon. What's this one say? Starts with a B. Butterflies live in trees. Look at all these butterflies. So where would I find the letter B for butterfly? You're right, there are two. There's one here and one there. So one of those B's is for butterfly. What do you think the other one could be for? What animal lives in a tree that starts with B? I know. Foxes live in trees. Which letter starts fox? F. Starts with L. Ladybugs live in trees. Where's the L for ladybug? It is. Woodpeckers live in trees. So a woodpecker is a kind of bird. And they go around to all the wood on the trees and they peck, 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 peck with their beaks because they want to eat the bugs or the insects that are inside the bark of the tree. So inside the tree. So woodpecker starts with a W. There it is. Oh, here we go. We already knew this one. It's a squirrel. What is the squirrel doing? He's eating? Oh. Chipmunks live in trees. So, what does chipmunk start with? A C. And now I notice that this is a chipmunk all along. I was wrong. That's okay. It's all right to make mistakes. That's how we learn. We say, oops, wasn't right. That's okay, though. Now I know better. Getting smarter every day. Hedgehogs live in trees. What do you notice about the hedgehog's body? Yeah, it's got these spines on it, which are a little bit sharp. Those are to protect it from bigger animals that might want to eat it. All right, so we've got a chipmunk, which starts with a C, because C and H together make a different sound. Ch, ch, ch. Like T and H together make a different sound. Th, th, th. So chipmunk and hedgehog. Hedgehog. H. Like Henderson. Porcupines live in trees. Ooh, would you want to cuddle up to a porcupine? Probably not. But porcupine starts with a P. There it is. Owls live in trees. Oh, look at this. Got an owl, a nest. Inside the nest is a baby. Does the baby look like its mama? Not really. Baby owls grow fluffy feathers first, and then they get their regular feathers when they grow up a little bit. Okay, last page, boys and girls. It says, bats live in trees. Upside down. So look at these bats hanging out in a tree. And what does bat start with? B. All right, boys and girls. So we found all of our letters and all of our animals. Maybe you can go outside today if it's nice and see what other animals you can find in the trees. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.